Before we get going, I don't know when's the last time Nichelle or Sash did a mod announcement. If everyone can please get the taps in, we only have 19,000 likes and we're at 178 viewers. If you guys can please double tap on the screen and get to 50,000 and press and hold, repost, add to your story and get it to 500 shares. I don't know why you guys are slacking on that. Make sure you guys click the little orange heart next to Smitty's name, show some support. And yeah, so I came in and I heard something along the lines of, why are, pro-Palestinians or Palestinians not protesting the Republicans, which just in and of itself, just misinformation. Palestinians and pro-Palestinian protesters have protested Republicans. I don't know if you guys remember last year during the RNC in Milwaukee, Palestinian protesters in July met outside of the RNC protesting the Republicans' position on U.S. policy regarding what's happening in Gaza. Protesters, and including members of the U.S. Palestinian Community Network, have demonstrated outside events that featured Donald Trump, such as a speech that he held at the Hilton Hotel in Chicago, saying that he's not welcome, especially because of the large Palestinian population in Chicago. Sasha, I know you didn't say anyone, you didn't say Palestinians. I'm including both Palestinians and pro-Palestinian protesters. And protesters were protesting outside of Trump Tower when Mahmoud Khalil, a Palestinian Syrian activist, was, held by ICE. And they were demanding, especially, it was actually a Jewish group that was protesting Trump Tower, supporting Palestinian rights, and they were demanding his release. So this notion that why aren't we protesting Republicans, or why aren't we protesting Republican candidates is just misinformation, because we are, and our supporters are protesting Republicans. But the reason why there's more pressure on the Democrats is because the Democrats claim to support Palestinian human rights, but their actions contradict their words. And the majority of Palestinian Americans and the majority of people who support Palestinian human rights tend to be registered Democrats or vote Democrats. Mm-hmm. So it's more of, we're trying to hold the party that we align with more, by and large, accountable for their role in what's happening, more than just holding both parties accountable. I'm glad that Colin Allwell dropped out of the race, because I saw that he took over $646,000 from AIPAC. I don't get involved in other state politics. I stay involved primarily in New Jersey because that's where I live. I do have opinions on many candidates in many states, but this is my opinion. I believe that anyone that is taking money from AIPAC, claim to support Palestinian human rights, but don't actually act in support of it, I don't think they should be serving in American politics. But I also believe that politics here in the US can be nuanced. And so these conversations are important. But, Colin Allwell is not good for Palestine just because he's a Democrat. He has voted in favor of sending weapons to, I know that right now he dropped out to run for the 33rd Congressional District. So for anyone that's in Texas that lives in that district and you're thinking of voting for him, consider the fact that he's voted multiple times in support of Israel. He thinks that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And yeah, Allred, Colin Allred, that's his name. Mm-hmm. Allred, I know. That's exactly what I'm saying. I don't know what people are not, I don't know. People are fighting with me in the comments. His name is Colin Allred. I said it correctly.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ronnie. Let me go down to Nichelle. And again, you guys know that I am. What's going on, Noah? You guys know that, again, I'm curating the discussion, so I might ask questions that, again, I could answer myself, but I'm just curating the discussion. So I want to keep the discussion lively. I want to keep the discussion respectful. Notorious, how you doing, fam? Good to see you. Dems are still the right. They've never been the left. Okay. All right. All right. Let me go to Nichelle. Now, you said you were concerned about anti-blackness. Why does this topic conjure up anti-blackness or thoughts of being concerned about anti-blackness, Nichelle? Why are you concerned about that in this discussion specifically?
A couple of things. As a proud 92%er, I can say this. It seems to be the conversation gets loud when we're talking specifically about a black female candidate. Now, that could be anecdotal, right? That could be, but I don't think it is. I think a lot of people, specifically in the black community, specifically the 92%, have a lot of whiplash and a lot of PTSD from the November elections. And when we see a lot of the same rhetoric, a lot of the same hit pieces, say for instance on Jasmine Crockett, when the two candidates in the race are pretty much equal when it comes to, what they stand for and what they believe. Sure, different people, different delivery, but there's a very obviously big difference. And we don't see those hit pieces or think pieces, if you will, on say James Tallarico. People are gonna start to side eye and ask. And when you ask and push and dig a little bit deeper, I mean, you kind of saw this on the couple of lives that you did specifically about Jasmine Crockett, and people in the comments were using descriptors like, "Oh, I think that James Tallarico would be better for Texas. I think he can win," kind of discounting her. And listen, if you don't have to agree just because she's a black woman, I don't want anybody to do that. She can stand on her own laurels, her own or she needs to run the race that she's going to run. But if you start using words like she's ghetto, she's ratchet, things like that, we saw that. So that's why anti-blackness comes up in these conversations. And lastly, I think it's naive to ignore if anybody was on this app within the last 2 years. I mean, come on. Anti-blackness comes up in this conversation quite a bit.
Okay. Let me go to NYC. I know NYC has to go.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Any final thoughts, ma'am? Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Nichelle. Instead of focusing on the actual issues that they are talking about, whether it be their policies, laws, whatever it is, they are attaching it to a stereotype, and that's where everything gets lost. And it focuses now, and now it becomes like a race issue, or it becomes like a stereotype big issue, where it should just be focused on what is this politician enforcing, what are their views, what are they trying to bring better to their community, instead of attaching it to like a stereotype or a narrative about a certain group, if that makes sense. So I do agree with Nichelle with that. And like I said, with this issue, I'm gonna speak for myself. I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm speaking for me. I did not vote for Trump proudly. I did not vote for him. But I do see where when people did talk about voting, I had conversations with colleagues and they said, you have to go with the worst, which, I mean, it's two of the worst, I guess. You got to go with the better. I'm not saying it right because the bell just rang and everything, but you have to go with who is going to be more for the people. But yes, both of them obviously stand for Israel. They're going to be supportive towards Israel. I think people need to understand that tie with Israel is never going to go away. And picking up a politician, for example, what I mean is a president that is more for the people. Because now that we have Trump, they're dismantling the Department of Education. They're dismantling a lot of different departments, and it's hurting the people. And it's obviously hurting Palestine versus a president that would be protecting the people in America, but obviously not supporting Palestine. If I'm making sense, I'm sorry, it's chaotic now.
No, that's good.
Thank you guys.
I'll let you go.
Hopefully you guys Thank you guys. Take care. Sorry.
NYC. All right. We're going to let NYC go. All right. Let me bring Noor in. Noor, how you doing, fam? Good to see you. As always.
Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise, for sure. What do you think about this topic? Why does the left seem divided on Palestine?
Oh, a lot of people are going to hate me for this one. I have a really, really nuanced take.
Hey, that's what we want. We want the nuance. That's why we're here.
Awesome. So I'm pretty sick, so I'm probably just gonna drop after this.
Okay.
But I have a lot of a lot of critiques of like everybody involved in this. Even Ronnie, I'm probably gonna ask you as well, because like something that I noticed on our side as well is that I feel like a lot of white people have completely taken over our movement and have made their voices a lot more important than ours. And that's where you see like a lot of this anti-blackness also stem from. Like, I'm not saying that it doesn't come from, I know there are Palestinians that are still anti-black. I know there's a lot of people who still have not deconstructed. But I think one of the biggest issues that we have on our side as well is a lot of people have come in, co-opted our movement, and used it as an excuse to try to pit minorities against each other. And I've seen this like time and time again with a ton of, like I said, I do apologize. Like I'm very sick,
No,
but
that's okay. Don't apologize.
I've seen this time and time again with leftist movements in general, right? Because like me, myself, I am a leftist. I understand like people tend to take issue with that on itself, but like I'm a leftist based off of like my politics. I believe in equality for all. I believe to be a leftist, you have to center and understand inequality. And with that comes understanding racial inequality and understanding that capitalism started off with the first capital in capitalism was black bodies, right? And I think we have to understand that in order to be a leftist and to properly center our ideals. Sorry. So that's my issue with our side. I think like another thing that I do take issue with is a lot of people don't understand that there are ways to critique politics. Oh, sorry, 1 second. 2 seconds. Let me just shut my door.
Okay. No, you're good. I think a lot of folks want to hear your perspective on this. So let's give Noor 1 second, and then we'll continue to hear her perspective. But please continue to tap the screen, and we're going to go back to Noor. Go ahead. Okay.
Awesome, thank you. So another thing that I've noticed is that like there's ways to critique politicians, I think, without doing it incorrectly. And I think Nichelle was touching on this a little bit, right? Like Nichelle was saying that I don't know why support for here. I'll get to that. There's ways to critique politicians without it being disrespectful. You're able to critique politicians on their policies, and like I don't think anyone will ever have a problem with them being critiqued on their policies. When it comes to like the Jasmine Crockett versus Tallarico stuff, that's where
Yep, we lost you. I lost you, Noor.
Noor, you cut out, sis.
All right, we lost Noor for a second. Let's
Can I, Noor?
sorry.
Did you get a phone call?
Am I back?
You're back.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi just cut out. I was gonna say, so when it comes to the James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett stuff, I am not from Texas. I will never support a Texas politician because I'm not from Texas, and no Texas politician is ever going to be left-wing enough for me. Ever, right? Like Texas itself, I don't think will ever be considered left or anything farther than moderate. Even when you look at Jasmine Crockett or James Tallarico, I think they're both still very moderate. Like if we look at James Tallarico, people are saying, oh, he doesn't take money from AIPAC. He's more sympathetic to Gaza, but he's taken money from Miriam Adelson. So when we get to this position, I think people just have to understand at the end of the day, Texas is very, very far from being where we want it to be. And to get it there, you have to do I have been to Austin, actually. My brother used to live in Austin. But Austin is not the entirety of Texas. So Texas on its own wants to fucking secede. Like, quite frankly, like Texas on its own to see it. And I'm saying this as a Palestinian. I don't support either James Talarico or Jasmine Crockett because I'm not from there and I don't understand the moderacy of the politics. I don't understand supporting anything. And I personally don't believe that or I think our foreign policy as a whole needs to be overhauled. I think American foreign policy as a whole needs to be overhauled, but I understand the nuances of critiquing our foreign policy when it comes to minorities, because
And a Black woman, I love the way that you frame that. So here's what I'm going to ask you, and maybe this is the crux of the conversation. And if it's just you, then that's fine. Here's where the crux of the conversation is. So you said very eloquently, you don't live in Texas. Texas doesn't represent you. Okay, that's great. I'm in Texas, right? Texas is going to represent me. And you said as a leftist, even Democrats here are not as progressive enough for you. Fair statement. And that's okay, right? That's okay. Every state is made up of different demographics, 1000%. Here's the crux though. And what we saw specifically in the 2024 election. So I live here every day. When I go out my front door, I'm affected by Texas policies, laws, and rules, right? And who governs here. If you don't agree with the Texan politics or the options that we have, but I have to pick from that pool of options, right? Isn't as left or progressive as you'd like. Does that make sense? Can I still be part of the pro-Palestinian movement, even though the options that I have to pick for in Texas don't necessarily fit like what you would want to see as a leftist? I think that's where the crux of it comes from. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I know a lot of people might also take issue with what I'm gonna say. I think supporting Palestine, of where you are, looks different for everybody. I think that's something that a lot of people don't recognize. When I support Palestine in West, it looks like me working with lobbyist groups or me working with politicians in order to push more bills in favor of Palestine or doing like local community work. Sorry. So I don't take issue with where you are and the choices that you are being forced to make, because I think once we look at it, I don't believe the individual is at fault for the electoral. I think Huey P. Newton said it best. He said, think globally, act locally. When you act local in Texas, it looks a lot different than when you act local in California, or when you act local in Palestine, or when you act local, let's say even in Indonesia, because I see people in Indonesia outside absolutely protesting, right? So it just completely looks different depending on where you are. And I don't think that how you vote necessarily is a requirement for being like pro Palestinian, right? It's the question is like, does it comes down to being anti-colonialism. And I think something that people are also refusing to acknowledge within US policy is it is always going to be US policy to support Israel, because Israel is using US policy to oppress Palestinians. People forget that Israel is using Jim Crow to oppress Palestinians. That's where it came from. South Africa apartheid came from South Africa apartheid came from the US. Yahtzee Germany came from the US. And this is all it's all just a it's a remanifestation of Jim Crow, but in a different region. Like it was with Yahtzee Germany, like it was with South Africa apartheid. They're doing this and it's the same playbook over and over again. And I absolutely understand. I understand why people who step outside in Texas, sorry, that was like a super long rant, but I understand why people in Texas would vote James Talarico or Jasmine Crockett over fucking Abbott or whoever the Republican is right now over there, right? I really don't keep up much with it because, like I said, I'm from California, so our politics are a little bit different. So
I appreciate that. Smitty asked us to to mod the live in his absence for a second. So I'll ask a question. First of all, I really appreciate your time today. I know you're not feeling well, and I'm very grateful for the discourse that we're having right now, specifically as a leftist Palestinian. So I know you spoke for you and you live in a blue state, you mentioned. What do you think, though, about people who specifically, and it's going to happen with all of us, right, with the midterms coming up in next year. So this won't be, I think this is just kind of the first, Texas is the first conversation that we're having, right? And where we're seeing some of this. And so we could see a repeat again of the 2024 election cycle in terms of, the rhetoric that we saw here on the app. What do you think about the leftists here who have kind of put their thumb on the scale again? Of course, everyone's allowed to voice their opinion. I may not agree with it, but I support it. Palestinians were getting the smokes for stuff that did not belong to them. That it was YT pro-Pally people who co-opted the movement. Do you have anything to say to members of your party, if you will, or political leanings that are still kind of doing that?
Yeah, I personally think that, and Ronnie may agree or disagree with this, I think like we as Palestinians need to start telling people to shut the fuck up. I don't think there's like another way to put it, because it's like, you know how they always say, oh, they use them as a human shield. I feel like a fucking human shield most of the time. Like when people are like, oh, don't do this because of Palestine. Don't do this because of Palestine. I'm sorry, you can just not do something because you don't want to and not shove us out in the front, like as a minority who's currently being oppressed. So if you don't want to vote for Jasmine Crockett because you don't agree with her politics, that's fine. Say that. Don't sit there and shove Palestinians out into the front, because we're already dealing with so much shit every single day. Like I have to watch them every single day. Oh, you have to do this.
Real quick. No, I'm sorry. So apparently, hold on real quick. Mandy in the comments, I'm trying to figure out what was the statement from James that somehow was offensive that I didn't deal with or whatever.
Yeah, I thought there was just a couple of great points, because I do think there's plenty of ways to critique politicians on the front line, or try to, or co-op and take over of movements, is that they don't know, or even they don't know how, they refuse to do that.
Wait, after this, but go ahead.
Yeah, you said you want to have a uncomfortable conversation. This is part of it. And this is why I said, and we were kind of like being genteel about this at first, there are a lot of people in the Black community that are angry and hurt. I'm not saying that all of their perspectives are, one kind of way. I'm simply saying he never said F Palestinians specifically. And this is always my issue. It's been my issue since November 2024. Palestinians got roped into this unfairly, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying that there's one single Palestinian that may or may not have been out of line. I'm not saying that. but people were grouping together Palestinians and pro-Pally people. Okay. And anybody who knows me has known, I have consistently said that the people who co-opted and took over the narrative of the pro-Pally movement, okay, Palestinians suffered because of that. And it's still happening right now. You have people in the chat, we're talking about the leftists being divided on Palestine, okay? It's happening right now in real time, Smitty. So that has to be, in my opinion, a part of this conversation, sussing out who the problematic people are, because he has repeatedly said that he stands with Palestinians in Gaza. He has repeatedly said what the FU is to people who consistently throw it up in Black people's faces and do these moral and purity politic tests and litmus tests. That's what he's talking about, that he's over it. as a black man. But you will never, ever, ever find him saying F Palestinians in Gaza. Ever, ever. He's never, ever said that. Ever.
Yeah. And again, one of the things I try to never do is say never and always. And that's why I wanted to address what Mandy was saying. It's too bad she's gone, but I would love to have her come back, because I think more than anybody, she needs to hear this. Again, he has been very clear. Again, I want to clear up any confusion, because I think it's important. But again, we're going to move on. Let's go.
Can I just
go ahead, Ronnie. Go ahead.
I just want to preface, this isn't what I heard. This is what people are saying that they heard. I would, if he wants to clarify, I know Nichelle is trying to clarify for him, and I appreciate that. I'm not speaking on his behalf. I'm just saying that this is what people are.
Yeah, no, I got you.
With, and that's it.
Yeah, I got you. Well, we'll let him know. I'm sure he will definitely want to clarify. Let me go up to Noah, though. Let me go up to Noah and get Noah's first comment on this. Yeah, I mean, and to think that, anyway, I'm not even going to go and talk about my piece of this, but go ahead.
I appreciate it, Smitty. I wanted to say two things. So first, I don't think the left is divided on Palestine. I think there is a colloquial usage of the left, or usage of the left by like liberals, that isn't actually proper to its meaning. So like, left ideology begins at anti-capitalism. There's not a single Democrat who's on the left. Even the like Zoran Mamdani, the Bernies, they're not on the left either, right? Anyone who's advocating for like a Nordic model, you wouldn't be on the left either. I think the left has been very clear about anti-colonialism, anti-imperialism, and so, being against the illegal occupation of Palestine is something that anyone who's on the left would be in support of. I think the other thing that there is some confusion, and I really wanted to speak to this because I was in a liberal space, unfortunately, some other day, and I heard some popular creator argue with a mutual of mine about what constitutes Zionism. And I think there's not a consensus, especially for folks who actually aren't on the left, what Zionism is. And so even things like, I think Israel should have the right to defend itself, that's a Zionist position. This would be tantamount to being like during apartheid South Africa, when white folks held like majority rule, to be like the white people who were running everything had a right to defend themselves against the black people who were resisting apartheid. Literally the same thing. Similarly, the two-state solution that liberals propose is also a Zionist position. This would be like saying Zimbabwe and Rhodesia need a two-state solution where we keep some elements of apartheid. So I think we really need to get clear on the terms. We need to get clear on the history. But I don't think the left is divided. I think there's a divide between the left and liberals, which makes sense because they're opposing ideologies.
Got it. Okay. All right. No, let's go down to Jermaine. We'll go up to Callie next. So Jermaine, then Callie.
Yeah, I think, okay, so I think when it comes to, I don't know who said it earlier. I don't know if it was Nichelle, or I think it was someone earlier who early was on the live. I think when it comes to like voting here, right, Smitty, and we see we're constantly under attack by, right-wing policies and right-wing politicians, right, Smitty? And I think that when it's, time to vote, we tend to, try to get out of under those right-wing assaults, right? And so we're going to align with the Democratic Party. I always say like the Democratic Party is like the umbrella for people to hide under the big bad boogeyman of the right-wing politicians. And also the Democratic Party are really against you too as well. So you know what I'm saying? So we tend to convert and hide. And I think the moral conflict comes also too, where it's like, this person's taking AIPAC money. I'm talking about a Democratic politician. They're taking money, but maybe they also support, quote unquote affordable health care and policies that will actually benefit working class people. But then you kind of see, oh, well, where do they align on their foreign policy, right? And that foreign could have a nasty history of foreign policy votes or beliefs. So that's also a dilemma too. We have to factor in. I don't think none of this stuff is black and white. I mean, it is and is not at the end of the day, because there's nothing. The G side is very black and white. There is no others. There is no different side of perspective. It's a black and white thing. You either support it or you don't. At the end of the day, not even just that, but all foreign policy, because the U.S. has a nasty history of their foreign policy. So it is conflicting, but I don't blame people who are still voting for Democratic politicians, because we're constantly assaulted from racist bigotry, attacks on marginalized groups. So I do get it. So I feel like that also is never, people want to get out of a lot of that pressure. They want to feel, get out from that pressure of the foot of the neck of the right wing assault. So they say, hey man, I'm just got to do it. I got to protect my community, my people, my black women, my marginalized group. So I'm going to vote with, the Democratic Party. And then some people may come in, and then my biggest right, and I'm gonna finish real quick. It is also like these YT or white progressive so-called leftists that they go on online mainly. I think it's mainly online, but also too, can co-op and try to like dehumanize or nitpick certain things about this. But it's like, who are you at the end of the day? You know what I'm saying? That to critique like that while you're co-opting movements and while you're trying to center yourself in a worldwide movement. So it's like, man, it's never an easy like I understand why people do it. You know what I'm saying? And I can't critique it. I can't dehumanize them. I can't say, oh yeah, well, you voted for, Biden, or you voted for Harris because they supported that. But it's saying, hey, I did it because I'm trying to get under the neck of this right wing. But at the end of the day, we got to be careful, because if we try to hide under this umbrella of the Democratic Party, we got to realize that at the same time, they ain't on our side either, because they are just as warmongering and as war hawk as these right wing politicians are.
Okay. All right. Hey, brother, I got to let you go, man. Thank you so much for coming up.
Yes, man. All love. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. As always. All right, we're going to go to Callie, and then let me see who's we got a request.
Good morning, y'all.
Right. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm trying to get everybody up. Good morning, Callie. What are your thoughts on this?
Look, what y'all not gonna do is try to have collective fucking amnesia. Okay? It's really weird. It's actually really annoying to me. Because while this time last year, a year ago, we were being called G-side apologists, Black people. Okay, so if we're talking about a divide on the Palestinian issue, it's really not a divide on the Palestinian issue. We think that shit is wrong. Okay, we think that shit is trash. But we were called G-side apologists for voting against our own G-side here in America. The G-side of what we're watching happen to Latino people here in America. We voted against that, and we were called G-side apologists, claiming that we wanted to see people unalived in Palestine. And no, we're not going to pretend like that was just YT leftists that did that. I saved a lot of y'all videos. Okay. I saved a lot of those lives, clips from y'all's lives. So what you're not going to do is play in my damn black ass face right now. Okay. I disassociated from a lot of people during that time, and I was down like 4 flats for Palestine, babes, checking Zios left and right, gathering hoes right here on this very panel, and many, many more. But what you're not going to do is call my people G-side supporters and apologists for trying to insulate themselves as best they could. And we are watching the fallout from going the opposite direction right now. And everybody is suffering. And guess what? You still didn't save Palestine. In fact, you enhanced the harm. You have the right wing that's actually advocating for people, for Netanyahu and his regime to get pardons. And y'all don't got no smoke for them, but you got all the smoke for Jasmine Crockett still. Okay, y'all are coming for Jasmine Crockett right now when we have a Congressman Fetterman right now coming out publicly advocating for a pardon for Netanyahu. Y'all not gonna play in my damn black ass face this morning. Y'all not gonna piss me off. So here's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna pretend that we're divided on the issue of Palestine. We are divided on the issue of the anti-blackness that brought us to this point, because that's what it is. Okay, we're gonna be divided on the anti-blackness that brings you to the conclusion that because funds to Izzy, but also gave aid to Gaza, somehow she is a Zionist. That the math is not mathing. Y'all got one picture from before the escalation in 2023, and y'all ran with that. So y'all not gonna keep playing in my face, and y'all don't have none of this smoke for the right. You have absolutely none of this smoke for the people who are literally got building plans to build over the warm, unaliving resting places of those people. Okay, that's what you're not gonna do. Okay, y'all had a whole Arab con. There was Arab Con, okay, where the topic of making sure that Kamala Harris didn't get into office was rampant on panels. Are we gonna pretend this didn't happen? What are y'all talking about? This is not divided on Palestine. We've not been divided on Palestine historically, especially black people. I'm talking about my people right now. We've all been like, nah, that shit is mad wrong. And we pulled back from our conversations about peacetime because y'all decided that peacetime was the only thing that mattered. And you told us countless times it was the only thing that mattered. And once we didn't, hold on, I got two sentences. And we told y'all if we lost our rights, if we started being stripped of what little rights that we had to do activism for peacetime, we wouldn't have time to be advocating for y'all because we would be having to try to save our damn selves. And what did y'all do? Y'all chose to put us in that position.
Let me so real quick, I think we've got someone, I apologize, I think it was Ayub, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, that said he's one of the organizers of ArabCon. We'd love to have you come up to explain as well. So let me do this. And again, right, the point of this discussion is to try to figure out why the left is divided. Again, maybe it's not on what's going on in Palestine. Maybe it's more so the response and the reaction, and to try to somehow come to some sort of common ground. Because listen, this is what I've always said. If you're willing to support Palestinians who unfortunately in this world have no agency, you're doing it out because you are kind and out of the kindness of your heart. If you're willing to support black people who unfortunately in America also have no agency, you're also doing it for the same reason. And so there's got to be some way where we can have this discussion and have it in a way where we can feel good about it going forward, right? That to me is the point, at least from my perspective. I hate that there's been some sort of kind of misconstruing of what folks have said on both sides. I've seen that on both sides. Hopefully we can clear this up because that's the point. Let me go to, let's see here. Let me go to Jess. And then I'll probably let somebody down to let Mr. or Mrs. Ayub come up. Jess, what are your thoughts, fam?
What up, Showcast Smitty and beautiful panel? How y'all doing? The reason why they're divided is because of racism and anti-blackness. I know we've said this 1,000 times. This only goes. Somebody in the comments still talking about Obama, Kamala, Jasmine. Those are the names that ring bells when there's been plenty of white men that have started this shit, been doing wars and all this stuff forever. But it's only when it comes to us that we need to be broken down to the T. When in reality, the source and the root of all of our problems is white tea races. White tea people for the most part. The bulk of them. From everything that we're going through, from the wars to the colorism to the anti-blackness to the racism, the everything, they're the root of all of our problems. To colonizing the causes, to pitting the people against each other, they're the root of our problem. But a lot of people are afraid to go after their oppressor, and it's easier to go after another marginalized community. We would be in so much power if we all stuck together, but but everybody have a problem with black women. Even the first black man to get a Nobel Peace Prize back in 1950 was because he brokered the mediation and the agreement between the Israel and the Palestinians. Like, we are your biggest ally. We're standing 10 toes down before Kamala even entered the race. And it's like, if we can be there for you and advocate for you and boycott for you and speak for you, and when we need your help, you don't show up, or then you start demonizing us, then that's where the disconnect begins. And we've been voting for racists all our fucking life. You want to jump and leap to the finish line, teleport to the finish line. When you do a race, there's steps by steps by step. You got to ease your way in, and you take what you can get, and you get into positions of power to start making changes. So, and also too, quick Google searches for everybody talking about she took 25K. She did not take 25K. There is no evidence of that. You can just do a quick Google search. The humanitarian, somebody was like, what did you send? What did they send? They sent food, drinking water, shelter materials, healthcare, funding for essentials like healthcare, education, and sanitation. All right. And then Jasmine Crockett just made a video specifying what she voted for. Not only was it A for Gaza, A for Haiti, A for Taiwan, she had to also get money to other countries that need help. When you're in there, there are going to be some changes, but the money just going to Israel, she voted against. Right. And she said that she separates the people in Israel apart from their government. No, I do not like their government. Just like we don't like Trump. Because we'd be mad if the rest of the country was demonizing all of us because of what Trump is doing. That's their government that it was doing. And she's already said she don't like it. She don't fuck with it. She's not with it, period. But she do get that there are Israeli people, Israelis that are there that don't agree with it either. They did their own protests against their own government. So I think the problem is we need to get rid of your anti-blackness and your racism. We'd be your biggest ally. And that's to anybody, to go up against your oppressor. Grow some balls and stop being mad at the people who do have the balls to go up against their oppressor, like a Jasmine Crockett, and get with it, because we would be a bigger army together than we are apart. And I will end it there. Thank you so much, Smitty.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate it. Let me go to Ayub. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Yes, you are. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Talk to me about your perspective and what you want to come up and share.
Yeah, look, no, thank you. This is it's a great conversation. I'm glad, I'm listening in. A couple things. I know ArabCon was brought up. That's, that was put on by my organization. I'm the executive director of ADC. We're the country's largest Arab American organization. We represent about 15% of the Arab American electorate, a few 100,000 members. I can assure you that Harris's name was nowhere on the agenda. In fact, ArabCon is, we talked about dozens of issues. I mean, we talked about issues impacting us here domestically, impacting us foreign policy-wise. We talked about everything from healthcare to the economy. So it wasn't, she wasn't part of the program. And in fact, even a year prior, I met with her chief of staff and her repeatedly. And I think somebody put in the comment, it's not like we weren't trying to move her, weren't trying to move the needle. And in fact, the reason most of the community was upset wasn't because of Harris. It started with Biden. And for the record, our organization, we were the first to run attack ads on Biden. And we've run attack ads on Fetterman. We run them on Republicans and Democrats. It doesn't matter who they are. If you're not on our issues domestically, you're not on our issues foreign policy wise, we have a right to push and advocate our members and get them involved, civic engagement. So, and there's a lot of overlap in the issues. There's a lot of issues that impact all communities. But, specifically with that ArabCon, Harris wasn't on the agenda. We had no reason. At that ArabCon, what we were trying to do this year is just prepare ourselves for the challenges we have coming up, the rest of this year and the upcoming years, with immigration, with the economy, with healthcare, all that. And remember, guys, at no point ever has Palestine played such a role on domestic policy items. So when we're talking about Palestine, it's not only foreign policy or what's happening. Now we're talking censorship. We're talking bills like out in California, SB 771, AB 715, these bills that limit what you could say in the classroom, limit what's in textbooks, limit what you can say online. Like, we're up against a real fight on these First Amendment issues that impact all of us, right? And this is where, if you want to talk about like the Republican side, this is where the Republicans are coming in, because historically they've always been First Amendment purists. They've always been on that side of the fence with that issue, like First Amendment all the way, regardless of what's being said, right? In the meantime, we have Democrats like Newsom pushing these bills, right? So you're as a community, you're looking like, what the hell am I doing, right? Like, you got this Democrat doing this, so it's very complex. It's not black and white. You're going to support some Republicans, you're going to support some Democrats, but I can assure you that at no point should discrimination, or at no point should there be any anti-blackness or anti-Arabness, because at the end of the day, these issues are going to impact us all the same. They're not going to care. We're facing some serious issues in this country.
Let me ask you a question, and then I think Jessica wants to come in. Ronnie wants to come in as well. Let me ask you a question about the conference that you put on and the group that attends your conference. Would you say, and maybe you don't have data on this, or maybe you do have data for the 2024 election? Could you tell me about what the split was, or just, again, doesn't have to be exact.
I could.
Yeah,
I could, because we've done polling. We do a lot of polling. I can tell you a few key polling points, and we do very reputable pollsters. Okay. One, the demographic with the largest support of Palestine: Republican males between 18 and 34, by far. Beyond, by far the gap is huge, and for whatever reason, right? The whole co-opting and coming in for whatever reason, we're not getting into the reasons onto these polls. Two, it's almost still a 50-50 split between Republican and Democrat. What it's always been. It's not, overwhelmingly Republican. It's always, in our community, it's always been a 50-50 split. And listen, Democrats didn't lose the Arab vote or Michigan. And remember, we're not a large community, but we are big where it matters, right? We're big in Michigan and a few other states. We're concentrated there, right? They didn't lose Michigan in October of 2023. They lost Michigan in October of 2022 when the whole book ban issue came up. We were, outsiders came into our community. They caused the divide, and they brought, Arab community, black community. Like, they made this a huge issue, right? Democrats were nowhere to be found to be pushing back on the narrative. That's what started. That's when Republicans said, wait a minute, we have a chance. If we hop on this Palestine thing now, we can win Michigan. Like, we can win Michigan in 2024, right? They took advantage of it. It was a play on their part. But it's a 50-50 split. It's not one way or another, as I think most of the country is. I don't think it's
I'm sorry. There are people in the chat, Smitty. I'm so sorry. Thank you for sharing the stats. You said that so was that independent polling? And I just want to clarify. You said the majority of Republican white males supported Palestine?
A majority of Republican white males between 18 and 34
supported Palestine.
Support Palestine, yes.
Oh.
Wait. How was that polling?
I'll drop the link. It was about 20. It was, I'll drop the link. I'll look for it and drop it into the chat.
Yeah, a lot of people were asking for the source, because I mean, listen, if I'd want to know the number of people in that poll and how that poll came to be, because that goes against, when you say support Palestine, can you clarify on that, or what does that mean?
Like the question.
Sympathetic to Palestine. Hold on, I'll put it for you. I just sent it. I just dropped the link in there. And look, these numbers run close to what we've also run internally, right? So we pull we'll get the names off the voter log. I mean, you guys know how we do it, those of you that are in the field. We'll get the names off the voter log. We'll look at the folks that have voted, regularly in elections, those that are engaged, those that donate, those that gift to candidates. We'll pull them. And poll after poll, whenever we do this, that demographic, that Republican male demographic, is always on the over 50%. I mean, okay. And it's...
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think, and Smitty, we talked about this yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it wasn't, I don't know if it was on your live or if when Wally and I went live after you. A-Money said they aren't for Palestine, they're against Israel. That's a really, really important distinction, because the number, and I'm not sure, and I'm not coming against your poll, but a lot of people are reacting to kind of that data set, that what you're mentioning. So I just wanted to see if we could get clarification on it, because nationally, that doesn't pull out the same way of what you're saying. Do you know what I mean? Is what we're seeing is the Nick Fuentes, the CKs, right? It's more so that they are against Israel in a more America first white nationalist type of thing
Nish-
versus sympathy for Palestine, if that makes sense.
Let
That's
me.
why
I
we
think
are
Ronnie's got a
can
point of
I?
clarification, and then
So, yeah, I'm actually looking at the poll right now. It was conducted by Big Data Poll, which is it looks like it's a research survey platform. They interviewed 2005 registered voters between November 20th and 21st of this year. And they stated that Republicans between the ages of 18 and 29, 33.4% support Palestine or more sympathetic with Palestine. 27.9% are more sympathetic with Israel, 13.5% both, and 25.2% neither. With the America First crowd, this is just what the poll states, 24.5% support Israel, 40.8% support Palestine, 4.1% support both, 30.6% support neither. And then Republicans in general support Israel more than Palestine. Democrats in general support Palestine more than Israel on all age groups. And then independents are split between Israel and Palestine.
And again, Ronnie, to clarify, that was from this year, correct?
This was last month.
Right. So, okay. So the way that it was phrased is that was polling taken during the very contentious 2024 election and the demographics and the
It was
electorate
after.
in
It was
Michigan.
just a couple. It was just a couple of weeks ago. It was after the elections.
Okay. So
That was a
that
few
makes a
weeks
big
ago. Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, no, but what I'm talking about is our internal polling through the election process.
okay, okay.
Showed, and look, I mean, what's all these polls? They may not be scientific, right? And
Ellie, finish her response, Mr. Ayub. I'll give you an opportunity to respond.
You actively disregarded what was going to happen here in the United States to say, no, this is the only issue that matters to us. And then had the audacity to call my demographic, Black people, G-side supporters in many cases, not you specifically, but a lot of people got on this app of all different persuasions and said that we were G-side supporters for trying to insulate ourselves and others the best way that we knew how through our votes.
Okay.
And
Go ahead. Okay, let's let go ahead, Mr. Ayub, if you want to respond to that. And then I think we might have to unmute you. Let me go ahead. I just sent you a request to unmute. You got full time to respond, and then I'm going to go to Jessica. Go ahead.
if every person that voted for Jill Stein, or every person that voted, every Arab that voted Republican in Michigan or voted for Jill Stein switched their vote, and every Arab that sat home in Michigan switched and got up and voted for Harris, she still would have lost. And then if every other minority person that sat home in Michigan got up and voted, she still would have lost. Sure, blame it on us. You know why? That's great, because now you're saying we have the power to influence elections. By saying, oh, because we sat home, because we pushed on. Great, I take that as a compliment then. We are now strong enough to influence elections. Phenomenal. That's great. Okay. Jill Stein wasn't there this year. Okay, you're talking about the one last year. Yes, she showed up. Jill Stein did show up. Every candidate was invited. The Trump administration sent someone. The Democrats didn't want to send anybody. That's not on me. I'm a C4. I'm an organization that's giving our community the information, the opportunity to engage with these folks about their issues. And we had private conversations. We had private meetings. We had, community conversations back and forth like every other community does. We have the right to do that. We have the right to talk to candidates. We're not bound by a party. Nobody should be. No community should be bound by a party. That's not, when I'm running this organization, that's not my goal. If I wanted to be a Democratic Party organization, I would start Arab American Dems and work with them. And they exist. We do work with them, just like we work with Arab American Republicans and others. But to say, oh, ArabCon, yeah, you know what? Because a genocide was happening in the middle of the first ArabCon, what is the topic of conversation going to be? That's what it is. And second, I mean, Michigan, I don't know, last time we went to Detroit, it's where I was born and raised. I mean, we could tell you what the reasons, what was happening home, what's going on over there. It's no secret how the struggle that's happening, why people stay at home, why they're disenfranchised. They're not disenfranchised because of what's happening in Gaza. But when you tie in Gaza, when you tie in the finances, when you tie in the money going overseas, and then you tie in people can't get food to eat, lines to the kitchens are long, foreclosures, of course you're gonna get some resentment, and people are gonna say, "Home, this is what the Democrats got to look at. We can't keep pointing fingers and say it's their fault. It's their fault. Let's look inward. What could we do to fix our policies? What could we do to make things better and make people energized and support, to get out to go to the polls?" And for the record, we've attacked everybody. We came out against, from Bush to Clinton to Obama and all the others after. And at the same time, I've met with everybody. I've met with Harris. I've met with Biden. I've met with Trump. I've met with Obama. I've met with Biden when he was VP. We've met with Clinton. We meet with the administrations. We're respected enough to meet with the administrations, to meet with the leaders, and give the perspective and points of view and demands of our community.
Let me
And
just
who implements them implements them.
Yeah, let me come in real quick. Again, I think this is a really important discussion. Let me moderate this, please. Right, I know a lot of people want to come in and speak. Okay, but again, right, I think this is a very, very important discussion. But at the same time, I want to make sure it's productive. If it's not productive, y'all know me. I don't care how many people are in here. I'm gonna close the live. Period. And end the discussion, because I'm already a little disappointed about some of the stuff that was said earlier. So I think Jessica, thank you, Mr. Ayu, for that comment. Let me go to Jessica. I think Jessica, you want to come in, and then Ronnie wants to come in. We haven't heard from Noah for a while, so I want to make sure that everybody gets their point heard. But again, I'm just going to keep stressing it. This has to be a conversation, right, amongst people that have similar interests in regards to human rights, and that we move forward from this conversation. If it's not that, I'm telling you, I'm closing the live, y'all. I'm not doing this. Okay. And I think that, to Callie's point, there's a lot of frustration in the Black community. It's a lot of frustration in the Black community because of the results of the election. And I think, to her point, again, obviously, is that we have to understand that influence does go beyond our specific group, right? We see that in culture, we see that in music, we see that in many other ways as well. So we're going to try to keep this going. Jessica, go ahead, fam. And then I know, Ronnie, you want to go next, and then let's go to Noah after that.
Thank you so much. I just want to say a couple of things. I think even looking inward, you got to look inward individually. You got to take accountability. I will say that, especially as Black women, and being the 92% came in and showed up. And right behind us was Black men. When it comes to this specific election, she lost by 1.5%, one of the shortest margins. So there was a probability that if people get up and vote and do what they're supposed to do, things could be very much different. And that is, and we saw, especially Black women saw, like, that was a specific attack on us. What it was proving that, and especially the way TE's showing that their worst could beat our best to try to keep us in our place. We need to understand that, yeah, you could have made a difference. And it's okay to say, yeah, I fucked up. We should have did this. We could have made a difference. Take it as a compliment, take it as whatever you want, but you could have made a difference. And it's okay. Now this is where we move forward. And that's where the Black community is frustrated, because nobody ever comes to help us. Nobody's marching in the streets or creating coalitions for all of the police brutality, the unalivings, the strange fruitings. Nobody is ever coming to our aid, and we do, and we show up every single time. And the thing is, when you don't vote, you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. You just move forward. And what is the plan? What plan do you have? Who do you want to put in place? You just as soon as somebody pop up, you just berate them, dehumanize them, and tell them denounce, denounce, denounce. Who are you want to put forward? Who are you putting money behind? Because my thing is, if I'm sick, I can't go fight. If we don't have no health care, we're not going to be healthy. We can't fight. If we don't have a good, stable economy, we can't make no money and put people in position and back them so that they could do what we say to do and hold them accountable when they get into those office. So instead of just waiting for a candidate to come up and just tear them down, what is your plan? Now, who do you want to put forward? Who are you putting your money behind? Who do you know already that you could push? Because right now we have somebody not only willing to stand up for this economy. Texas is drowning. We're going through our own shit. Going through our own G sides. It just looks different. Medical apartheid. People are having miscarriages in Texas, going to jail until they figure out if it was on purpose or not. Like, we have our shit too. And until we can even get to some type of place where we could be able to help others, like help the place you're at so that you can help your people. If you tear this place down too, how can we help anybody? And when we allow these type of people into office like we have right now, who have publicly stated that they will turn it into a resort, turn it into a parking lot, give them more money, the obvious choice is to go with somebody who is at least going for a two-state solution. I know you say you can't tell them what to do, but you get what you get and you move forward. You work with that and see what you can get after that. Don't just say burn it all down because I can't get what I want. That is childlike behavior. But I'm always standing with my black women first and foremost, because I know everything that we've endured, we're still fucking thriving. And they got to work 10 times as hard to get to where they at. So even if I didn't even know her policies, all of her policies, I know she's going to do what's best for most people.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jessica. Ronnie, go ahead and we'll go to Noah.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to be quick, but I'm just in general, I think like a lot of people, everyone here, there's just a lot of frustration. Um, First, I'm gonna say this. I feel like there's a lot of finger pointing and there's a lot of blaming and a lot of generalization coming from both sides when a lot of people don't realize that we're all on the same side against the same oppressor. And people are not holding white people, especially white men and white women, accountable for their actions in the elections. And there's generalization amongst Palestinians saying that, oh, we're now part of, we're now the Arab American voice, or the Arab American vote. And people are holding us accountable as Palestinians for the way that Arab Americans voted, which, by the way, according to multiple documents, including one from the Arab American Institute, Arabs did vote a slim majority in favor of Kamala Harris, 52.4%. That's besides the case. There's a lot of finger pointing towards Palestinian Americans for the outcome of the elections. And especially as a Palestinian American, I'm disheartened by it because not only am I now fighting with people with who I consider family and friends at home, I'm also worried about what's happening overseas back home. And so now I feel like I'm fighting two wars rather than one. The other point that I want to make is in regards specifically to that bill that was mentioned in regards to military aid being sent to Israel that included humanitarian assistance to Gaza, to Sudan, and to Haiti and other places. The amount of humanitarian assistance that went to all of those other areas, Gaza, Sudan, Haiti, and more, is minuscule, very minimal compared to the amount of military aid that went to Israel. And I have a breakdown over here that shows exactly how much. Over $26 billion went to Israel.
Talking points and
you literally just said
U.S. defense articles from DoD stockpiles. $4 billion for the Iron Dome, David Sling, and Iron Beam systems. Approximately $3.5 billion for foreign military financing. And a very slim amount went to international disaster assistance and migration refugee assistance, just under $8 billion, to be divided between Gaza, Sudan, Haiti, and other places. So we're sending scraps to those that need it the most, and a wide majority of these funds to go to the country that is contributing to all of these disasters. Make it make sense, because obviously I'm going to call that out. There's people that are saying, oh, well, we're sending this. What about the amount of aid that went to Gaza that was assigned for this bill? Why are we still sending military equipment to Israel in the first place? Because now what I'm seeing is my people in Gaza getting bombed. Now I see Israel helping the UAE supply the rapid support forces in Sudan with military equipment to slaughter Sudanese civilians. I see all of this happening, and people are not addressing the military aid that's going to Israel in the first place. And it's frustrating because these are, I'm responding to people that I care about, that I support. And I've said it from the beginning, Smitty, since you started having this conversation last week. When it comes to Jasmine Crockett in the Texas Senate race, I will back her if she wins the primary in March. But now is the time between now and March 3rd to both hold her and James Tallarico accountable for what they have done in the past and see what they are willing to do to change. And I will back the Democratic nominee no matter who, but I am not a Texas resident. But there's unfortunately a lot of division coming from people that claim to be on the left, that are Democrats, that are doing this whataboutism, that are doing this, generalization. And it's disheartening because I'm someone I speak for myself only. I speak on behalf of all oppressed people. And I'm tired of people trying to tear my people down because of the actions of others.
All right. Thank you, Ronnie. There's a request in the chats to let Nichelle go next. I'm gonna do that. Let's let Nichelle go next. No, I'm coming to you after Nichelle. And I appreciate all of y'all for checking in on me again. This is a tough conversation. It's needed. So yes, I'm hanging in there, but I appreciate all of the love in the chat. Trust me, it was y'all giving the love at the right time. And I think that this is going to be a hard conversation. It's going to be a conversation with frustration, disappointment. Even I have some level of disappointment of some of the stuff that I've heard. At the same time, I know it's needed. It's like we gotta have it. We gotta have this conversation. So Nichelle, then Noah. Go ahead, Nichelle.
Yeah, we see it, fam. You know, we love you, and we see you when you're giggling, and we can tell when you're not doing so great. This is a tough conversation. And I'm seeing stuff in the chat that's like, oh my God. I just want to say to the gentleman who was talking about the Arab Con and to Southern Fried's point, a lot of people were mentioning you kind of missed the point. There isn't any way, and Smitty and I did a live like during the election, and we looked at the numbers because we were concerned that certain demographics were going to get, maybe put under the bus. But to Fried's point, there's absolutely no way, and it's extraordinarily frustrating to pretend that people didn't have an influence on the way people voted or apathy, right? And that there's no poll for that. We have to recognize that there's no poll for that. And there's a lot of very hurt and angry. I mean, as you were speaking, I was trying to keep my brain, unbiased and keep it just as a clean data set, right? And not get emotionally involved or whatever. But to ignore the very problematic takes, on this app would be disingenuous, right? And to me, if we're going to have the conversation, and Smitty talks about this a lot, like there's a lot of hurt feelings within the Black community. And I feel like some have recognized that and some are still acting like, it didn't happen at all, or kind of doing this revisionist history. There was a huge push. There was a huge push to put forth a third party. We can't act like, when Black people were kind of scanning their, what our options were and going with Harris, that we weren't called G-side supporters. I feel like there needs to be more recognition of that. And I also, on the flip side, think that there needs to be a distinction between those that are of Arab descent and Middle Eastern descent versus specifically Palestinians. And I've been saying this for forever. I have to check what the latest numbers are, Smitty, but most people, a huge amount of people, I hate making statements like this without having the numbers to back it up, get their news from social media. point blank. They get their news from social media. And so whether it's an influence, I mean, we're seeing it live right now. I'm looking at the chat, a lot of misinformation. I just don't have time to kind of respond to all of that. People do, do little drive-bys on these lives right now and maybe hear this conversation or see the prompt and didn't hear all of the conversation from the very beginning and may take something away from that. So again, I think it's disingenuous. I think we're playing, you're seeing the after effect of a lot of anger and hurt feelings, Smitty, without addressing kind of what the root causes are. And I do appreciate you very much for attempting to do that. And I'm hoping, I said this before, the call to action is always to take what you can from this and, like Jess was saying, look inside and start to make those changes. But you're going to continue to see this response, Smitty, from the Black community and from Palestinians who may feel like they were unfairly grouped in and blamed. I've said it again and again, white tea people, y'all need to come to the front. I said this last year. I'm saying it again. I feel like the conversation always ends up between the Black and brown and never the white tea who started it. And so until we're honest about the participation and acknowledgement of the hurt, you're going to continue to see contentious lives like this.
No, that was very good point, especially going to the root causes. I think on both sides, there was a lot of content that broke my heart. I hate to both sides it, but there definitely was. There definitely was, no question. Give me 1 second, Mr. If you don't mind. Let me just drop off. Okay. Or do you have to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I
appreciate everybody's perspective, everybody's points, and I appreciate you holding this. One quick point I want to add. A lot of the frustration in our community, y'all, please remember, was the fact that they waited that long to put Harris into the race. I can assure you, if the Democratic Party made a different choice prior and it didn't play out the way it did, she would have had a lot more support. That's a big, like, we can't miss the part of like the Democratic Party slip-ups. And I know it's got nothing to do with everybody, anybody on this call, but the slip-ups along the way leading up to the November election, it kind of hurt their chances, right? And again, I respect everybody's views, everybody's opinions, everybody's feelings. If I offended you, I apologize. It wasn't my intent to. I know these things can get emotional, but I'm always available. I mean, if everybody wants to talk this further after the live, or you want me to, phone call, you could shoot me a DM.
Absolutely.
I'm always around, man. I'm an open book. I'm available anytime.
Okay.
Our organization's available with resources, anything you all need. So I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody on the call and the work you all do. Thank you all for everything. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming up. I'll let you down. Thank you for coming up. Let me go to Noah. Go ahead, bro. What do you think?
Yeah, man, a lot was said. I really appreciate what Ronnie said because I'm guilty of this. On the last live of yours that I was on, I called some folks, I think, an apologist in some capacity. Maybe not someone on the panel, but like Democrat politicians maybe. And I think what Ronnie said is precisely why I do it, because people will bring up these very disproportionate aid packages that are being sent. It'll be like, I'm exaggerating, but it'll be like 30 trillion to arm Israel, $20 for Palestinians for aid that they probably won't even receive. And then I'm wrong for saying that that's immoral for them to be voting on something like that. You know what I'm saying? The other thing I wanted to speak to is something that I've heard today and also in the last panel, that I think needs to be interrogated to an extent. And I want to preface it with, I think identity structures people's voting patterns for sure. And I'm talking about like the identity of the candidates. I think, we were talking about Jasmine Crockett. Absolutely, misogynoir and anti-Blackness will structure and inform the critiques that people make. And also structure the way that they vote too, right? I'm not like naive to that at all. I do think it's dangerous to engage in what I call identity reductionism, which is distinct from identity politics, which is like a sort of radical conception from the Combahee River Collective, which was like a group of Black lesbian women who were articulating their oppression through their identity. That was something separate. What I'm opposed to is, I can give a very good recent example. This idea that because someone possesses these identities, that they can be absolved from critique, they can be absolved from their participation and complicity in U.S. imperialism. We literally saw in Atlanta, Keisha Bottoms authorized Cop City, right? And we know that police and prisons disproportionately impact Black people and Black women, right? So I understand the sort of like precautions, I think, that are being, sort of articulated with regards to like, there's a bunch of these anti-Black critiques floating around, and a lot of people are motivated by anti-Blackness. Like, of course that's true. And at the same time, like, identity does not preclude someone from engaging in like fucked up politics. And we literally see it all the time.
Ooh. That to me is a very nuanced take that I would love to hear everybody's perspective on the panel on that piece of it. Because yes, I think everybody understands what Noah was saying. You said it very, very well. Let me. I would love to hear what people think, because I have a nuanced, I think, response to it. But I think it's something that should be talked about. But yeah, absolutely, Panda. Go ahead.
So I think it's really important to understand the systems that are in place, right? I think what Noah said was all great and dandy on paper. But if you're going to call Black people oppressors and G-side supporters when we literally are at the bottom of the white supremacy system that is literally causing this situation and do not have the power to perpetrate it, right? I think it's really funny that we are the litmus test for everything and have been. And I just want to say this. How many on this panel think that there is a ongoing genocide and apartheid happening in America right now? Here in America.
I know it is. I know it is.
Does everyone on the panel agree to that? Because I have been on a panel I've been on panels with somebody on this panel that did not think that Black Americans were suffering under an ongoing genocide and apartheid. So I just want to make sure, are we all clear on that now? Okay. So are we also clear that the reason why this country is so brown and a mixture of so many different people from different countries, and people have the ability to now come here from these countries that Donald Trump called pieces of shit, are because of the foundation and framework that Black Americans, specifically Black women, put into place as their lives were being threatened. And they only had two choices to vote between two candidates that would have called them the N-word to their face, but they just went ahead and went on with harm reduction. And now to this day, people from countries that are not white countries have a chance to come here and make a better life for themselves. Are we on that understanding as well? You guys are not understanding how the civil rights now allows people to be able to immigrate here from non-white countries. Do you guys, everyone on this panel understands that?
Yes, understand.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Real quick, Panda, I'm gonna let you finish. Let's let Panda get her comment as far as what she wants to come up for. I'm confident she's gonna address the nuance that Noah expressed. But I'm sure she came up or wanted to come up before Noah made his comment. So let's just
this ties into what he's saying. This ties
No, I know. I got you.
And all of those things that are occurring have occurred to us as we are continually suffering under a genocide and apartheid, correct? So everything that we do always benefits all marginalized groups, including poor white people, correct? Yes. Okay. I take that as a yes. So I think the problem that Black Americans have, specifically Black women, is that the issue is not being addressed to the white tea supremacists, and that the Black women who participated in harm reduction are being gaslit and manipulated and are being held responsible and are being told, hey, your identity does not excuse you, when we are simply participating in harm reduction. And we've made that very clear. I don't know how many times 92% has to stand up and say, of course, when I wake up every morning and I find another Palestinian woman crying over her child, or how she's going to feed her child, that cuts deep to us. Because when we see that, we see our own grandparents, our own great-grandparents, and we see our own selves. But unfortunately, right, just like Harriet Tubman did, right, she also participated in harm reduction. She had to scuttle slaves from the South into the racist North that was funding and helping slavery in the South. But you guys kept saying harm reduction is not a real thing. It's irresponsible for us to do this. It makes you apologist, right? But when you are oppressed, you have to perform in harm reduction. And whether or not this community agrees with this or not, but even the ones that are fighting for Palestinian freedom have to participate in harm reduction. And so what is scaring us as Black women and why we are concerned is because we feel like the lessons that we thought were learned in the last election, and that we all as a group were going to come to the conclusion that, hey, we're not going to no longer let white, racist, cause colonizing leftists take over our movements and sound the alarm and use it to be anti-Black towards Black American female candidates. That agreement that we seem to kind of have had to come to has now been thrown out the window with Jasmine Crockett. And now we're hearing you guys don't want to aid. And then when there is aid, it's not enough. Well, I just want to say, welcome to being Black. Welcome to having to take crumbs and scraps and keep moving step by step. I think, was it Martin Luther, Nichelle, that said, if you gotta crawl, crawl. If you gotta walk, walk, but by all means keep going. That is the epitome of what being a Black American is. And for those of you to sit here and say, oh, well, they voted on aid to Palestine, but they only got this amount of money, and then not reading the room and understanding that that is literally how you make moves and civil rights movements. And that was the very foundation of the Black movement that we still utilize today to get any amount of success against white tea supremacists. And I'll land here. The frustration is that Black women are 100% at betting against white tea supremacy. We're 100% at seeing it from a mile away, years ahead. We're 100% of telling you that's a snake in the grass, right? And to hear, he left earlier, but to hear a UB say all these Republican men supported Palestine, and he missed the one elephant in the room. So all these Republican men could look at Palestinians and see their suffering, but then they look at Black Americans in their own country and not only ignore their suffering, say the suffering doesn't exist, actively participate with their violence in that suffering, and continue to make policies and legislations to make sure that Black Americans continue to suffer as the same way of the people that they so-called see. And the only reason for that is white supremacy, because of your proximity to whiteness. So your genocide and your suffering and your apartheid is more palatable to neo-schmazis and white supremacists. And I'm sorry, but that's not a flex.
Let me. I want to let Noah respond. Ronnie, thanks so much for coming up. I'm gonna let you down. I know you got to go. I think Panda. I think that no. Listen, again, this is a very difficult discussion, but again, it's a discussion that needs to be had. So please, folks, only apologize in the chat if you said something personal, right, towards someone. Okay, then yes, you should apologize. But if you are engaging in very critical, rebuttals, I don't have a problem with that either way. So I think where some of the frustration is, in my opinion, right? Like you guys, I think some of you know, maybe some of you may not, right? I was able to go to the ICJ and actually get into a couple of court sessions, right? And when I saw the judge from Uganda, I can't remember her name, Sibatende, whatever her name was, I had smoke for her. I mean, and I had smoke for the I can't think of who was the UN rep that was voting for all of those anti-Palestinian resolutions. I had smoke for her too. And so I think that's a distinction. I think that that Noah's trying to bring up from an individual perspective, that there are some folks that do propagate this oppression. At the same time, obviously, as Black people, as a group, right? As a group, oftentimes, and not even oftentimes, every time as we try to navigate this, right, our response is never the same as the folks who oppress us and their oppression, right? Does that make sense? Even in our response, if we respond and say, hey, I'm going to vote for this candidate because I think this candidate is going to be better for us, we should not be held to the same standard that that someone who is oppressing us does. And so I think this is why I think it's so important to have these nuanced conversations.
We have never, as a community, endorsed oppression or genocide. So I'm confused as to why we are being asked this question of why we cannot look at an individual politician and hold them accountable when Black Americans have been doing that for 400 years. That has never been our issue. So my question to Noah is, why are you asking us that question? Why can't you just go out to these white leftists, and especially the women, and ask them why they're cause colonizing, and ask
don't even
these
talk to
groups
white people,
and
bro.
ask
I don't
these
know what this
groups
is.
and ask again, I waited for you to finish. And why you can't ask these groups who are allowing these women to speak for them to say, hey, as a black man, I'm telling you, letting white leftist or right Republicans, anybody speak for you is not a good thing, because they're never about ending the supremacy. It's a grift. It's them cause colonizing. It's them literally hiding their racism behind virtue signaling. And instead of you addressing that, your first thing was to interrupt me and defend yourself when you're sitting up here. And it's not black women are not the issue. We've always held Republicans accountable. To this day, we hold Obama accountable.
Let's let well, real quick, Nichelle. I know you're gonna come in with some great nuance. Let me let Noah respond to Panda's rebuttal, and then we'll continue. But yeah, I want to bring you in, Nichelle. Give me 1 second. Go ahead.
There's a lot here. I mean, most of this was arguing with somebody else. But you know, I don't even engage with white people in real life, so I don't know why I would be responsible for holding white leftists accountable. Like, that's not my people. Two things I want to say, though, to what you said, even though this wasn't really related to what I said. I brought up Keisha Bottoms, right? She's a mayor, if you didn't know. I'm not making this characterization about black people in general, the masses of black people, because the black people who rise to power are a tiny minority of black people. In fact, I think black people are the most revolutionary, forward-thinking people politically in the entire fucking world. Like, that's my take. You know what I'm saying? I'm never here trying to paint black people as some like regressive mass of folks who are invested in anti-black institutions. I think history would never corroborate that. We know that black people have always resisted these systems of oppression. It's really funny that you brought up Harriet, because like from what I recall, she was pew-pewing slaves, right? Who were, not trying to get with the program. And I feel like if you have someone, in contemporary society, obviously the prison industrial complex wasn't a thing back then, but we have the prison industrial complex, which is like the afterlife of slavery. And I named a specific black candidate who authorized the expansion of the prison industrial complex. Like, that's what I'm critiquing. I'm not critiquing the masses of black people who vote for Democrats. Like, I don't think that critique would be warranted in most instances. I'm speaking specifically to people who do have the power. And of course, I'm aware that black people make up a tiny minority of this. I'm black, though, so I'm speaking to other black people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. The rest of it was kind of incoherent to me. I'm not going to lie, but that's all I'm going to say on this, because she's like shadow boxing.
So real quick,
I didn't insult you.
Real quick, y'all. Real quick, y'all.
I didn't insult him. Okay.
Yeah,
and
I didn't like
to be black and not understand why I brought up Harriet Tubman as harm reduction, because so many of the people in the movement brought up people like Harriet Tubman and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and used it to gaslight black women. So I brought her up to explain to you that harm reduction is something that black Americans have always participated in. Okay. And it wasn't incoherent and it wasn't shadow boxing. And for you as a black man, right, to focus on the non-issue. The non-issue is not the black Americans. It has never been. We have never been the problem in this country. In fact, we've always just wanted everybody to just leave us alone. But then what happened was that nobody could do that. So it fell on our backs to help every marginalized group because nobody else wanted to do it. And you as a black man are sitting up here and bringing up situations that are non-points. The issue is white supremacy. And last I checked, black people cannot run a white supremacist system, nor do we have the power in it. Now, are there people that participate and use tools of white supremacy who are amongst our people? Yes, but you must not be familiar with myself, Nichelle, Schmitty, Callie, who are up here constantly rocking these blaggas for who they are and letting them know that the rabid dogs are never allowed back in the house. Never, ever, ever. Rather you are think it's okay that a Palestinian child is starving, you're still not allowed back in the house. So I think we can have this conversation. I think it's funny that all these people came up on this panel and the only person you had smoke for as a black man is the black woman. So that says more about you than it does about me.
Real quick, let me just clarify. Somebody said, "Hey, why did you drop the op?" First off, Noah is not the op to me. Okay. Number one. Number two, I didn't drop Noah. Noah left. I would never drop Noah. Right. Okay. Let's just be clear. I just want to just clear that all up. Okay. Jess, I want to get Jess's comment, but unfortunately she had to go. Nichelle, I know you want to jump in, and then let's go Nichelle, Sasha, and then Reek. Okay. Go ahead, fam.
I have a headache. Oh my God. Um, yeah, listen, I agree with what Panda's talking about. I understand on an intellectual level where Noah was going as well. And I just want to bring up the point that Smitty pointed out. I mean, I remember that live that you did when we talked about the dissenting opinion on that ICJ ruling was from a Ugandan. It was like, are you kidding me? Like, but to Panda's point, like we can't create and those white supremacy type systems, but yes, there are those of us that participate 1000%. And I don't want to speak for Noah, and maybe that's what he was highlighting with the mayor in Atlanta. I'm not sure. I'm not going to speak for him, but again, nuance, people, nuance.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Nichelle. Let me go, Sash, and then we'll go to Reek.
Thank you, Smitty. I'm gonna shift the conversation a little bit if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Um, okay, so in Texas we have recently Governor Abbott, if anybody that's not aware, let me see if I can pull it up. He recently passed these anti BDS laws, which are laws um, protecting agencies that are from contracting with businesses that boycott Israel. He recently designed advocacy groups as TS organizations. For example, CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood. He designated them as TS organizations. Excuse me. Like he's doing all this stuff. A lot of anti-Muslim laws, right? He's passing a lot of this stuff that's going on in Texas, right? And it's being allowed to happen because we have people that are in the Texas Supreme Court and the Texas Senate that are very pro-Israel, that are very anti-Muslim. And what would help us get over that is having somebody in the Texas Senate that would help unwrite these laws or not let these laws pass, right? So again, people that are outside of Texas that don't understand Texas politics, that don't understand what happens here in the state of Texas, that are saying Texas could never be as progressive for me. I don't understand what's going on in Texas. It could never be as left for me. That's fine. That's fine. You don't live here. That's the reason why you don't live here, and that's fine. Some of us can't escape out of here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we're living it, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is why, and like they're saying we need to elect politicians that are better. Okay, fine, but you didn't. It didn't happen. These are the candidates that we have. These are the candidates that are running. These are the candidates that we need to choose from, right? And so if we want to change the laws that are in place, if we want to do something to fix what's going on here, this is what we have to vote for. This is who we have to support, right? So I'm sick and tired of people that are outside of Texas not understanding what's going on down here, trying to speak up for the people that live here. It's really getting on my nerves.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that, Sash. Appreciate that. Let me go to Reek, and then we'll go to KGR. We'll go to Ancient, and then we'll see where we are with time, you guys. Hopefully, we made a dent in this conversation. Hopefully, y'all feel like, I mean, we may not have made true progress, but hopefully, we're at least surfacing some of the deeper issues and the nuance issues. Not that it's just, again, black and white, right? That we're getting to some of the deeper points of this conversation. Let me go to Reek. Go ahead, Reek. What are your thoughts?
Thank you. So I want to first address this. It seems like it happened when Noah came up and he said what he had to say. You should not be insulted by critique. I'm going to be 100% with that. You should not be insulted by critique. When it comes to Texas, a lot of what initially occurred with the perspectives and discussions on the race in Texas, it started with a critique. It was not a demonization. It was not an insult. It was a critique. It was actually a question of, what is your record? Can you explain your record? Da 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 da, which was met with a level of like kind of defense of like, why would you even ask me that? So that's one thing that we have an issue with, of this assumption of superior intellectualism that, I have to be doing the right thing because I come from this place or I know this certain thing. So of course I'm doing the right thing. Well, apparently your constituents do not agree. When it comes to, I actually had this conversation with someone the other day where they were actually someone who was leaning to like the third party situation, but they know that they're a leftist. So it still aligns here. And they had all these great things to say and all these policies. And I'm like, you should run. I've been in the nature of that, like, especially when it comes to this. People are saying, oh, I have issues with Tallarico and I have issues with Crockett. I'm like, why don't you run? Why don't you run for something? There's a lot of seats that can be run for where even if it's a councilman or a comptroller or all these different things where you can have a lot of impact. If you have issue with this senator or this congressperson and you are someone who is looking at this race and you're saying my priority is Texas and I don't want my Texas money in the billions being sent abroad for foreign investments that will then come home and destabilize me through, surveillance state equipment, be a comptroller, those kind of different things. But what's this person told me, and it really struck with me that people don't get this, that the people that we elect are not supposed to be leaders in this country. They are supposed to be representatives, meaning that they're supposed to be representative of the populace with which they serve. That's what districting is supposed to be about. We know it's already been redistricting. That's all screwed up, but it's supposed to be about representation. And if I'm looking at a candidate and I'm looking at several candidates, I'm realizing they are not representative of this populace, that's going to be a problem with me. I live in Philadelphia. To Noah's point, even, we have a Philly mayor who is a Black woman. It was very contentious when she was elected, and a lot of people elected her simply for the purpose of her being a Black woman. Well, come to this point in time, not only have certain things happened where she's illustrated herself to not be in the best interest of her constituents, to be more invested in a lot of like very niche circles when it comes often to like real estate. We've actually gotten to this point where Black women had to address Black women, right? So that's another thing. So I'm gonna close it with this. Why do I think the left is divided on Palestine? Because I think certain people on the left who are establishment people primarily think that they know more than anybody else.
I was hoping, Rick, if you could maybe just real quick dive into that piece of it specifically when you said, just facts, so good to see you. Love you, fam. Thank y'all again for continuing to support the live, by the way. When you say superior intellect, can you just clarify what that means? I just don't want folks to, when you say that, and then I'm going to go to KGR.
Yeah, no problem. So it's kind of a crazy thing. So for some people, they do have degrees, and that's wonderful. Some people, they may not have the degrees, but they have experience. And then for some people, it's because of a who you know thing. I know for me personally, my mother's an AKA. I know a lot of people who were looking at Miss Harris because it's a Divine Nine. The Divine Nine had a lot to do in the community. And they looked at Harris as an AKA, not only as a sister, but also like, oh, you must know exactly what we need because you're part of the Divine Nine. Well, come to find out, the Divine Nine has, and questions internally about who knows best, even with that. So, there's a lot of assumptions of like, or even let's say this is a person who got to a position, right? They will look at someone at a certain position and assume like, oh, you are at this position now, you've gotten there, you must have the answers. And it's like, knowledge is like universal. Like there's probably a prisoner right now who like Malcolm X, right? Malcolm X, probably one of the most knowledgeable people of his era, prisoner. A lot of his education came from when he was in prison, right? So a lot of this assumption of this establishment making someone valid to just have all the answers for everything, like that's where we're losing it. Also, even on party levels, like we're talking about voting on party, and we can't even look at a candidate at this point. And like that's when it really gets funny when it comes to this Texas race, because we're looking at like, okay, Crocker or Tallarico, and then all of a sudden, because it's the same party, now it's got to be black or white, and it's like, that can be part of it, but like, what are the policies?
Okay.
So
yeah, I've got my perspective on that, but I want to hear KGR's response, and then we'll see where we're at.
Just get clarification before we move to KGR. Can we just get clarification on 3 things?
From Reek? Is that clarification from Reek?
Are you part of D9?
I am not part of the Divine Nine.
Okay, no. Are you a black woman?
No, I'm not a black woman.
Are you a Texan?
I said I'm not a Texan. I referenced Philly.
Thank you. I just wanted clarification on that. Thank you.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. Go ahead, KGR, your response.
Okay. So that's just a lot of words to say that it's not critique. What we are critiquing is the actual critique, because it doesn't make any sense. When we were, I never heard a leftist come out against Abigail Spanberger when she was running for governor of my state. Y'all never did a whole campaign about her voting record, her support of any of this, because everyone understood how necessary it was to keep Winsome Sears from winning. And I also always find it interesting that you hold black women, no matter what, to this random, crazy purity test that doesn't actually apply to anybody else. Now let's look at it from this perspective. In our Senate, there are 100 seats. That is it. That is all. In those 100 seats, they determine who gets what funding completely. They make laws. They write legislation that determines whether or not someone like me, a black woman, is going to be allowed to have a credit card in my own name, because they're trying to get rid of the Fair Credit Act. So it'll make it so that credit card companies and banks are allowed to discriminate against women from having their own, credit lines, if you will. Additionally, we are facing women in general losing rights in this country. And we are facing, and we're already seeing, the destruction of everyone's civil rights in this country. So when I did the deep dive into a bunch of you effing fake leftists, especially the 8x11 ones, and I did that yesterday, the ones who've been putting out all this anti-Jasmine Crockett, because they're not really talking about Tallarico, because he's a white guy. But y'all are really talking about Jasmine Crockett as though she has her singular position in Congress, has the ability to undo 76 years of cooperation and support for a country that the United States helped create and fund. But that one black woman is supposed to magically whip out her magic wand and undo all of it. Instead, what you guys are doing is utilizing this, and it's racist. And I also want to point this out. When I did that deep dive into 3 of the large creators who've been putting out this anti-Jasmine Crockett, oh, you can't do it because she's pro-Izzy and blah, blah, blah. I started hearing the exact same talking points from multiple creators saying the exact same shit. And I found out something interesting. All of them receive payments from the same 501c3, allegedly, that is controlled by the Heritage Foundation. Now, I find it interesting that y'all are so quick to take money from white supremacists who believe in the destruction of black people as a whole and the re-enslavement of us all, but you want to talk about free Palestine when y'all motherfuckers have done nothing but make it more dangerous for the Palestinians because of your, it has to be perfect or align on everything we say. And somehow we're going to undo 76 years of cooperation and participation with not just Izzy, but the UAE, England, like all of these other countries that also participate in upholding this country. But somehow you expect one singular black woman to be able to undo of that all the time. But I find that stupid because no matter what, y'all's lack of voting and not participating is why there are more Gazans unalived right now. why they are already planning the resorts, why Jared Kushner has a massive amount of money and investment in the redevelopment of the Gaza Strip. But yes, they think they know more because maybe we effing do. Maybe some of us actually took the time to study public policy and public administration and how when we have interactions with other countries, when we do have our mutual exchange and involvement with other countries and world organizations, that we understand the impact of what happens when you say, well, this one person said no, so that's great, and it doesn't accomplish shit. Have you ever thought about how you can actually get something accomplished when you don't have a Russian shill and a person who has so much compromise on him sitting in the White House that maybe we could get some shit done? But no, you all only have this purity test for Black women. And then you say, oh, you got some degrees. So condescending coming from someone whose mom is in the Divine Nine. When we're talking about Philly politics, let's go for real and talk about Philly politics, my dude, because I will tell you straight up what is actually going on. Because of years and decades of redlining, because of intentional harm to Black communities, because our government actually boomed part of Philly in order to gentrify it later, you expect one Black woman and one term to be able to fix the same shit that's been going on for almost 100 years there. And I am sick and tired of hearing you no action, tap dancing Negroes talk about you should run. Did you raise money for that fool because it costs a lot to run for public office? Have you sat there and pulled together money with everybody else in order to fund campaigns? Of course you haven't. You would rather tear down people who actually do the effing work versus sit around. Oh, well, you have this pretend view of your moral superiority when I hate to break it to you, bitch. Morality is completely subjective. And morality is subjective because people like you exist. Because you would rather not do shit and talk about people who do things, who do fight, who do go to bat, than actually sit down and look at yourself in the mirror and realize your elitism is actually annoying and you haven't accomplished shit. And you are coming at people who actually do the work. And then you want to hold Black women to a standard of being able to fix everything while you sit on your lazy ass. That I have a problem with. And with that, I'm a limit.
Let's let Reek respond to that. And then Ancient, I'm coming to you. And ICJ, hopefully, I think we're on the same page now. I think KJR was talking about pro-Palestinian content creators, not necessarily Palestinian content creators. So hopefully we clear that up. Go ahead, Reek, your response, and then we'll go to Ancient.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to respond. I was not expected to be actually insulted. That's very funny. So just to let you know, I have not just sat on my ass and done nothing. I actually organized to help the Clinton administration get in way before on a level back in Newark. I've been actively working in my community with my church since I was a literal child. So you don't know who the fuck I am, so you can sit your uppity ass down. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing, but like I'm matching energy right now.
20 years ago?
Nope, drop. Absolutely not.
Okay.
And I hate to break that to you, but Reek is an actual anti-Black. He's always pews misogynoir whenever he's up on a panel. I'm sick and tired. I helped the Clinton administration. Which one? What, when you were a literal child? Really? So back in the 90s? Okay, cool. Yeah. But again, all you do is sit around and talk smack about Black women. You did not help Hillary. And oh yeah, it was Hillary. So again, you haven't done shit in 10 years? And you did it with your church? Oh, great. Wasn't Hillary Clinton pro-Izzy? So you were cool supporting a white woman, as I've pointed out before. But you want to come at a Black woman. Oh, that's so great, my dude. Well, I'm the reason that Virginia got to turn blue and picked up 14 fucking seats. 13 of them had never been held by a Democrat. I just want to tell you that. I also got a seat flipped in our county that has never been blue. I also sat there and made sure that we got Abigail elected. I also made sure that we got Jay over the finish line here. And I do that for free, my dude. I don't charge. I cultivate real candidates, find people to fund them so that they can run. sitting around and relying on church folk. And I was part of an organization too. When I was in college, I was a part of 6. You don't get to sit down and play these stupid ass games because, again, you supported Hillary Clinton. And I hate to break it to you, but this G side that happening over there was happening when she was running too. And when she was what is you talking?
Let me come in. Let me come, fam. Let me go to Ancient, and let's get Ancient's perspective, and then let me see where we got as far as time. I think we got another 10 minutes. Let me just ask the chat. How you feeling about the conversation? If you feel like we need to have another one of these conversations soon, put a 1. If you feel like, hey, you know what, Smitty, this is a one and done. Let's not do this again. Put a 2. I just want to hear. And listen, you're not gonna hurt my feelings as far as that, right? I want honest feedback. Ancient,
What were the numbers again? I'm sorry, Smitty.
Oh,
One was for.
One was that we should have this conversation again. 2 was it's a one and done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Ancient, your thoughts?
Thank you guys for having me. Personally, I just want to say something about the Palestinian issue. I live in Texas currently, but like I was born in the Middle East and I spent the majority of my life over there. So I think I would just because of my background, I would know quite a few things about Palestine. And I consider myself on the liberal side of things, not exactly leftist, but I don't support Palestine anymore at all. For a lot of reasons. I'll just give you one of them. Palestine is has divided into 2 governments, and both of them are very oppressive governments. The West Bank alone, I think around 1,400 people have been arrested for their political opinion, kind of thing. So when people say I support Palestine, what exactly are they supporting? I don't mean to offend anybody or anything, kind of thing. But why do liberals or lefties support Palestine? That's just gonna create a bigger problem than the problem we already have. And the government in Gaza, the Hamas government, is responsible for the majority of the problems over there. And it's a very oppressive far-right wing government. It's a very religious government. There's no freedom for LGBTQ. There's no freedom of opinion at all.
Let me ask you a question. Do you feel like the Palestinian people are oppressed, whether it be in the West Bank or in Gaza?
They are, I would say, they are just like their neighboring Arab countries. They are oppressed by their own authorities.
And then, okay, wow.
Yeah, so there has not been an election in Palestine since 2006. They could have held an election in the West Bank, and not in Gaza. But they just chose not to. And the majority of the population, I mean, I don't mean to offend anybody. I don't feel like they support democracy or freedom at all. So why do they support them if they don't support the same values that we support?
Yeah, man. I completely.
I'm a Texan. Hey, hold on. I'm a Texan here. Hold on. Let me make sure I understand this straight. You are a Texan of Middle Eastern descent that is a Zionist. Do I have that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Holy Mother of God! Just when I thought things were winding down, I think I'm seeing pigs fly. I'm looking out of my window.
Well, I mean, this is my opinion. I don't mean to offend anybody.
Can I just say one thing to him, Schmitty?
Yeah, go ahead.
He dropped. But the reason why we should be supporting Palestinian people is because they're currently under a apartheid and a genocide. That's just a simple response to that. And that's not what I don't think that is what this argument is about. I think most everybody that came up on this panel is in agreement that what's happening over there is wrong, and that your words were 100% no, ew, gross, and incorrect. And the issue is, I think, is not even Palestinians that we have, and most Black American women have been speaking about that. The issue is that we have a group of colonizing white leftists and Black leftists who have now used this to play identity politics, and it is now shaping the next 3 or 4 generations of Black, brown, and indigenous people in this country, and are pushing them back further on their civil rights and for the next 3 or 4 generations to come. And that is what this conversation is about. Like, how do we come together to stop fascism and the further disenfranchisement and the genocide and apartheid of indigenous and black people in this country? Right? Because right now,
I agree. I agree, Panda.
that's what this conversation is about. I think we're all in agreement that H group is not the issue, and that the issue in Palestine is a whole bunch of white supremacist, Zionist, East European Zionists who have taken land and stolen it through imperialism and white supremacy and colonization, and are now using white supremacy to perpetrate and commit a whole genocide and apartheid. We're all in agreement on that.
So let me close it up, y'all. So again, I think the one and done folks won, or not one. There were more people that said, "Hey, this should be a one and done." I think it's an important conversation. But
See, I didn't see that. TikTok tallied up the ones.
Oh, really?
One was, TikTok tallied up like when you put a repeat number in the chat, it tallies up the numbers, and one was more prominent than the twos. Unless you're seeing something on the creator end.
Maybe I thought.
No friend. Nope.
Yeah. Okay.
You're tagged.
You saw what I saw,
my friend. Tagged, you're it.
No, you saw what I saw. Listen. I think that as we end this, if folks cannot be honest about Israel's impact in oppressing Palestinians, I think sounds like we ended on something we all agree on. So I don't know, man. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I think this conversation is important. I think that we need to continue to have this conversation. Can
I just say a comment? I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but a comment I thought summed it up really well was more conversations, but more talk about resolutions and solutions. More conversations, but more talk about resolutions and solutions. That's what I thought.
Let me respond to Trader's comment. He said, "Hey, somebody was dropped who was being respectful." I don't know if it's respectful, man, to ignore what Israel's done. I don't know if that's respectful. You know what I'm saying? I think he was being nice, I guess, and polite, but I don't know if I would call that respectful.
Zionism is 100%. Zionism is 100%.
I don't know if that's respectful.
Yeah, Zionism is violent. It is violent, and when you perpetrate Zionism, no matter how nicely and calmly you say it, you're perpetrating violence, and you're perpetrating white supremacy. It is violent.
So anyway, let me. I will leave on that, y'all.
Thank you so much, Smitty, for doing it again.
Real quick. Do you think you're not promoting hate, but you're solving selective outrage and not solving any problem? Danielle, I'd love to have a conversation with you. You want to come up really quick, and you feel like, hey, we've done something that is propagating hate. I don't think this is propagating hate at all, but if you feel like it is, feel free to come up and we can have a discussion about that, because no, I don't think there's any desire to propagate hate. So, there we go. Let me have a one-on-one real quick with Daniela. I want to let Daniela out. Hey, Daniela, how are you?
Hi, Smitty. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Why do you think this is propagating hate?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I just joined in the last few minutes, but just hearing comments here and there. Smitty, I think your heart is in the right place. I think that, there's probably a lot of things we agree on, but when you have these kinds of panels and you promote this idea of Zionism and Zionists, knowing that most Jews do support their indigenous homeland of Israel. They have no other place to go. We just saw the tragedy of what happened to 16 Jews just living their lives in Australia, nothing to do with the war on Israel. That's happening all over the world. Words do matter, and you can criticize governments, but there is a fine line between criticizing governments and then starting to hate on a minority. And I don't think it's necessarily intentional, but that is fueling a lot of the problem. A lot of people who come on your panel really don't know what they're talking about. They've never been to the Middle East. They've had a crash course in this conflict in the last 2 years, and it fits the narrative that they have been fed, which is thinking that the Jews are white colonizers from Europe who are oppressing the Palestinians. It couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, I am not white. My family was kicked out of Iraq as Jews, as long with many other Jews throughout the Middle East and the Arab world. We are also brown. There's also black Jews from Morocco, from Ethiopia, not to mention every religion living in Israel side by side. Jews are not welcomed in most countries in the Middle East. They have been ethnically cleansed. Thank God we have Israel. So when you vilify Zionists, you are vilifying Jews. And you're making it seem as if Jews have oppressed a people when all the Israelis have ever wanted was peace with the Palestinians. I know that's hard for your listeners to believe, but when they elect a terrorist regime who doesn't give them free speech and kills anyone who wants to speak up for peace and coexistence in that area, they're immediately murdered. That's who my heart goes out to. So you just need to look at the actual history, and that's all I wanted to say. I'm not here to debate, but I just thank you for letting me up. I do appreciate that.
I'm not here to debate either. I think that I have a lot of thoughts about what you said, right? I think that what has happened and what is happening to Palestinians is horrific. And I think that talking about that is not promoting hate towards Jewish people or any other group of people. I also feel like what happened in Sydney was horrific too, right? At the same time, I do feel like if you talk about that situation specifically and you don't mention the man that stepped in to save and to mitigate that tragedy and that he was a Muslim man, I also feel like that's also
actually, I just, to be fair, I thought that too. But he's not Muslim. He's actually turned out to be Christian. I was also correct.
Okay, so hold on. Let me have this conversation. Okay, and that's fine. That's a fine clarification, right? But we cannot say that folks who are wanting Palestinians to be free, to be liberated, right, to have equal human rights, are doing it because they are the motivation is hating Jewish people. I think that is very, very difficult and wrong to say. Now,
but I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I was saying to bring balance.
Okay. No, but listen, I think if there's any panel, or at least on TikTok, that's tried to do that, I think that is what my panels have tried to do, is to have balance, is to have Israelis come up, is to have Jewish people who support the state of Israel to come up as well. I don't, and again, no one's perfect, right? But I think that's what we've tried to do here, at least. But again, and I don't want this to go as a back and forth, but I think that to say that the state of Israel has not participated in the dehumanization and the lack of liberation for Palestinians is woo. I don't know. That to me would be like saying that in the United States, right, that white people haven't been any way responsible for the oppression of black people. I mean, like, nobody would ever co-sign on that.
Just quick. I'm sorry, I've been tagged a lot. Quick misinformation flag. A number of people are saying and confirming that he is in fact Muslim, and Ronnie is asking to be let up. Just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. No,
I don't want this to be turned into like 5 against 1.
No.
Yes, if he's Muslim, listen, whoever it is deserves 100% of the credit.
Hold on, y'all, real quick. Hold on, everybody. Again, I wanted to bring up Daniela to have a quick one-on-one with her. I think she said she has to go, so and then let's let her finish her comment, and then I think Ronnie wants to make a clarification, and then we'll be done. Go ahead, Daniela.
Thank you. So whoever it is absolutely deserves 100% credit for doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. Whether he's Muslim or Christian, he's a hero. Mm-hmm. And we are grateful for people like that who do the right thing. Mm-hmm. in terms of, we are not going to agree on the Israel-Gaza situation. I think that the numbers speak for themselves. This clearly was not a genocide. We want to talk about genocide. We can certainly talk about Sudan and Nigeria and Syria, where there are so many more deaths that are indiscriminately a genocide. But that's okay. I'm not here to convince you, but all I'm asking for, Smitty, is to just understand that there is another minority out there, which is only 15 million, that a lot of anti-Israel sentiment does justify people going against Jew hate, doing a lot more Jew. And I would like you to bring that to the panel as well. And remember that we're all human beings and we have a right to be be who we are, right? So that's what we should all agree on.
Yeah. Let me say something, Ronnie, and then I'll let you go, and then
she's gonna run away.
I want to.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk to Ronnie, so that's not why I'm here. I was here to talk to you, Smitty.
Hold on. Let me say something to what Daniela just said, okay? Because I think what you just said, Daniela, speaks to, I think, the disconnect. And I'm not going to speak for all Black people, right? I'll speak for me, and I think the Black people that I know, where we have a disconnect between our two communities, which Daniela, historically have been aligned. I think that the issue that I have is, as Black people, I think we are trying to reach out to the Jewish community and the Jewish pro-Israel community and say, hey, we're trying to tell you the truth, right? We're not trying to alienate and have a difficult discussion that isn't about telling you the truth, because that's where my frustration point is. It's we do care about Jewish folks. We do care about Jewish lives. But I feel like when we try to have this conversation about Israel, then it gets put on us that, Black people are the most anti-Semitic and Black people hate Jewish people. No, we're trying to tell you that what Israel is doing to the Palestinians is wrong, and in the name of Jewish people, it's wrong. And we're trying to be very honest.
Okay, but to be fair,
I got to drop Smitty. But I don't give a F.
This is between me and Smitty. I'm sorry, Smitty, can we just have that dialogue? Because I think it's important and I don't feel it's going to be productive.
I'm not talking to you.
I know, I'm not talking to you. I was talking to Smitty.
I'm letting him know that I'm dropping. Believe me, I've had several interactions with this anti-Black Islamic,
okay, so then go.
Anti-Palestinian
You're interrupting our important conversation.
I will say this. I'm dropping. But you can talk to Zios all you want. I don't give a F about what they have to say. I think it's really sad that 16 people lost their lives, but 1,000 Palestinians have lost their lives since the ceasefire. And you are from Iraq. All right. And you are not, what race are you? Because last time I heard Iraqis is not a race. By definition in America, you are a whole Hawaii woman. Okay. So, I don't give a F what you have to say or what anything has to say. You are a raging Zio. You are anti-Black. You are racist and you are Islamic phobic. I have no intentions.
Smitty, she's just calling me names. This is helpful. She's proving my point. She's proving my point. Is this
Palestinians' names for 2 years on this app and traumatizing Palestinians and Black Americans.
Is this okay, Smitty?
On this app forever. You're not the victim, and you're not a minority. And I'll drop.
All right, thank you, Panda. All right, let me.
Smitty, I appreciate our dialogue because I think we're actually trying to hear each other and not call each other names.
Smitty,
no, Ronnie, no.
I'm not addressing you. I'm addressing the 290 people.
You can do whatever you want when I.
No. You can stay on the panel. You're going to listen to this because the person that you refused. No.
So, Smitty, I'm just going to drop. Thanks for letting me on. I really wanted to respond to you because I think we're finally getting somewhere.
Respond to him, but can I?
So real quick, Daniela, if you can have some patience. I think Ronnie wants to address what you said about.
No, I don't. But I'm not here for that, Smitty. I'm here for you.
Right, I know, but I think it's important. Just trust me, Daniela. I think it's important what he's going to say.
Thank you,
Smitty.
It's not going to be important. Trust me, I've heard it.
Go back on mute. Go back on mute.
No.
I don't care if Netanyahu is sending you $7,000 every week.
Smitty, you see, it's just personal attacks. If you mute me one more time, I'm just going to go. I was here in good faith for you.
We don't care.
I'm getting attacked by your panel. This is exactly what my point was. And it's not okay.
He said that you can address what he said after I am done saying what I need to say. Go back on mute. This is not an Israeli checkpoint in the occupied West Bank. You're going to listen to what a Palestinian and a black man has to say. The black man being Smitty, the Palestinian being me. You're not going to sit here and treat us like we're at an Israeli checkpoint. This is not your land to occupy. Understood? So let me explain to you something really quickly. Ahmed al-Ahmed was a Syrian Muslim born to Syrian refugees whose parents just moved to Sydney, Australia recently. For you to sit here and blatantly say that you recently learned that he's a Christian when his parents, including a hijabi woman, came forward and said that they are Syrian Muslims, you are outright disgusting. A Muslim man came to save the day when no other bystander did that. And I will continue standing down for my people, whether they are Lebanese, Palestinian, Syrian, whether they are Black Americans, whether they're Sudanese, whether they're Congolese. I'm not going to let you sit here on this panel and deny his identity. His name was Ahmed al-Ahmed. He is not a Christian man. He is not a white man. He is not just someone for you to sit here and say that, whether he's Muslim or Christian, whatever. You have no balls to even repeat what his name is. Ahmed al-Ahmed. I'm going to drill that into your brain until that's the only thing that comes out of your goddamn mouth. You understood? I'm not going to let you sit here on a black man's panel and spew your Zionist rhetoric when you know damn well this black man, my brother, is on our side. You might have a difference of opinion, but he still knows right from wrong. There is no such thing as a Christian named Ahmed, and I am telling you this as a Palestinian and Lebanese Christian. No such thing as an Arab Christian by the name of Ahmed. That is a Muslim name. No such thing. That is just Zionist propaganda simply because Netanyahu said it in a Hebrew speech because he had no balls to say it in English that it was a quote-unquote Jew. And then you guys wanted to spin it and put it on the Christians that were the ones to defend the people that were at this beach. No, it was a Muslim man.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ronnie. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go. We'll have another live tomorrow, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me,
Thank
and
you.
sorry for going off the way that I
Thanks,
did,
Smitty.
but I'm just going to be straight. Whenever I hear them come up and say that, I'm just going to be straight up honest. I'm a black woman who is of Ashkenazi ancestry. My family, to quote my grandmother, oh no, we converted so they'd stop burning our house down. Because, Christians were burning us out on top of us being black. So I really want to point this out to people. Nowhere will you ever find, and if you've ever gone to Israel, you will see it. The anti-blackness there is insane. They literally treated my father nicely because they really weren't sure what he was, but they treated my mother, me, my brother, all of us like crap. And it is very, very much racist. And I am sick and tired of people trying to pretend that it doesn't happen because it does. And I'm someone who had my grandfather's cousins were unalived during the Schmolocaust, okay? His cousins. So I have a whole branch of my family who unalived over there. So I get sick and tired of hearing people, oh, well, no, that's our indigenous. It's not, you're white. And we'll own that. We're white. We're from Europe. Okay? That is where my grandfather's family came from. Okay? And when you're talking about thousands upon thousands of years, that would be no different than trying to say all black Americans are technically Native Americans because everyone came out of Africa. Well, then shit, then everybody can fall into the line of being from an ancestral homeland if you go by that. And I'm sick and tired of people pushing that type of bull crap rhetoric because you don't get to sit there and you determine if that is what you believe is a G-side when we already know their numbers have dropped so significantly that it is obviously a G-side. I want you to go tell that to the Armenians when the Turks did their thing. I want you to tell that to everybody else. Just because they're still Armenians doesn't mean that they didn't undergo a G-side. And I'm sick and tired of them always trying to conflate this and make it about it. And I'm sorry, you as a supposedly Jewish woman from Iraq talking about your MAGA and Maha, so you're anti-vax and on top of everything else, that makes you disgusting. Because, oh my God, I'm just so sick of these people coming up here lying all the time.